Hey Summoners, in this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about the new champion Sett. I'm really excited about him. He's a simple champion with plenty of skill expression. A champion that both newbies and seasoned veterans can take a lot out of. For our question of the day, what kind of champions do you want to see hit Summoner's Rift? I definitely am a fan of champions like Sett, champions that are easy to pick up, but still leave plenty of room for growth. Are you getting ganked in your own lane, constantly demolished? Don't worry, we got you covered. ProGuides is the #1 proven way to quickly help you level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you're looking for tier lists, champion guides, coaching, or courses from your favorite pro players, ProGuides is where you'll find them. Even players like Nightblue, Bunny Fufu, and Loco Doco support ProGuides, so what are you waiting for? Click the link to start improving right now. Now, let's get started. First things first, why do you want to play Sett? You should pick him up if you want a playmaker who's simple but likes to jump headfirst into brawls. He's a good fit for both the top lane as well as the jungle. Let's talk about his strengths and weaknesses. Strengths: high damage output, tanky, great laning phase, good crowd control, punishes health stacking champions, insane dive potential. Weaknesses: immobile, low range. Abilities: build, easy to gank, and also has weak ganks. Alright, let's start by talking about Sett's abilities. His passive Pit Grit is pretty unique, but also a simple one. Sett's basic attacks alternate between left and right punches. If he doesn't perform a right punch for 2 seconds, it'll reset back to a left. Sett's right punch gains 50 bonus range, attacks at 8 times the speed of his left punch, and also deals bonus damage. The other part of his passive provides him percentage bonus health regeneration based on his missing health. This is one of the strongest parts of his kit in the early game. This bonus regeneration will take into account all sources of health regeneration. Items like Tiamat, the regeneration from red buff, and even potions all benefit from this. Sett's Q is Knuckle Down. Once activated, he gains 30% bonus movement speed for 1.5 seconds if moving toward enemy champions. Additionally, Sett's next 2 basic attacks within 5 seconds will deal bonus damage. Hitting an enemy once will refresh this timer. This move also resets his auto attack timer, so this is essentially his bread and butter move. Haymaker is his W. Sett stores 100% of the damage he takes after calculating any mitigation as grit. Grit is his secondary resource and tops out at 50% of Sett's maximum health. Each instance of accumulated grit decays by 30% every second after 4 seconds. When activated, Sett blasts an area in front of him. This is an extremely wide ability, but has a sweet spot in the middle where enemies hit will take true damage instead of physical damage. He also gains a rapidly decaying shield for 3 seconds. Sett's E is Facebreaker. This is a non-targeted ability that you'll need to aim like Thresh's Flay. When casted, Sett will pull enemies in front of and behind him, dealing physical damage and slowing them. If he manages to pull enemies from both sides, all enemies hit will be stunned for 1 second instead. Sett's ultimate is the Showstopper, which acts very similarly to Vi's ultimate. It's a targeted ability that allows Sett to grab his foe and dash forward a set distance, suppressing them until they land. Once he lands, he creates an AoE impact that deals damage and slows enemies' hit. Enemies toward the edge take up to 40% reduced damage. This ability has AD scaling on it, but also scales based off his opponent's bonus health. When we said this guy punishes health stacking champions, we really meant it. While it definitely will be difficult to land a sweet ultimate, with some setup, this is definitely a good way to take advantage of tanks or bruisers. Another thing to note about this ultimate is that it's capable of launching Sett over a wall if the range is appropriate. However, if the wall cannot be scaled, he'll stop prematurely upon reaching it. When playing him, max Q first, W second, and put points into your ultimate whenever possible. Take W at level 2 unless you're in the middle of a fight and want your stun instead. At level 3, you should have 1 point in each ability. Alright, let's talk about his build now. If you play him top, you'll want to run this build. Start the game with Doran's Shield or Doran's Blade if you're confident you can dominate your matchup. You'll want to buy a refillable potion whenever possible, however, regular potions are fine too. Buy a Tiamat first, then transition into these 6 items as you see fit. Conqueror, Triumph, Tenacity, Last Stand, Magical Footwear or Perfect Timing, and Biscuit Delivery. Titanic Hydra, Trinity Force, Ninja Tabby, Steric's Gauge, Spirit Visage, Deadman's Plate. When playing him in the jungle, you'll run a very similar build. You can skip the Tiamat Rush if you'd like, since your jungle item will help you clear your camps. Conqueror, Triumph, Tenacity, Last Stand, Perfect Timing, and Biscuit Delivery. Warrior, Ninja Tabby, Trinity Force, Steric's Gauge, Titanic Hydra, Spirit Visage. So let's talk about this setup a little bit. Conqueror is an easy keystone choice because of Sett's AD ratios, brawly playstyle, and how easily he can stack it up. You can instead run Grasp of the Undying in the top lane if you think the matchup relies more heavily on short trades. However, if you're ever in doubt, just run Conqueror. Triumph is honestly the only choice he has in that tier. Tenacity is usually superior to Bloodline because Sett gets kited. Last Stand is optimal on Sett because he gets low pretty often during the lane phase as well as team fights. You'll want Magical Footwear because of its gold value or perfect timing for that OP stopwatch. Sett's dives are insane. Finally, you absolutely must take Biscuit Delivery on this guy. Sett's passive increases all forms of health regeneration. When you're extremely low, popping a biscuit alongside a potion will give you an insane amount of health regen. It's like a mini Mundo ult, and in those early game skirmishes, this allows him to come out on top. In the Inspiration tree, you also have the option to replace one of your runes with Cosmic Insight. CDR works amazingly well on Sett, so if you'd rather have some extra scaling and don't think you'll need the early game bonuses, feel free to make the swap. As for his items, they're nothing special. They're pretty typical bruiser items, but you'll definitely want to take advantage of Trinity Force, as it provides some extra burst damage when he casts his Q. The bonus movement speed its passive provides synergizes well with Sett, and you can replace it with a Black Cleaver if that'll assist your team. One thing you need to always be aware of when playing Sett is your passive, which we just talked about. He has two different auto attacks, one from his left hand, which is slower and weaker, and his second, which comes from his right, stronger and quicker. Whenever you're basic attacking, take note of the different pattern that he has. Usually, we're used to auto attacking once, then resetting it with an ability or moving in between auto attacks. With Sett, however, you need to change up both of these. You'll want to use your Q after 2 auto attacks instead of after 1. Unless the situation is dire and you need that burst damage, you'll end up with more damage in the long run by casting it after you finish a cycle. Also, while we typically move in between every auto attack, this can be different with Sett. It really comes down to what you're comfortable with and how much attack speed you have. If you're confident in your mechanics, you'll still move after every basic attack, but the timing will alternate after each one. Between your left punch and right punch, there's very little lockout time, so you'll take a very short step in between these hits. After you throw out a right punch, however, your attack speed returns to normal and you can spend some more time moving before your next hit. This means that a typical auto attack combo with Sett looks like this: auto attack, move, auto attack, Q empowered auto attack, Q empowered auto attack, move, auto attack. The difference it makes usually isn't significant, but there will definitely be times where the small distance you cover by moving between every attack can sometimes decide whether you manage to pick up a kill or not. However, this shouldn't be your main focus, and is something you can continue to develop as you learn Sett. Now, before we start talking more about the flashy combos, let's talk about one more nuance. The movements between these attacks are optional, especially if your opponent is standing still. However, if your target is running away, you might not be able to land every hit. When your target is running away, you'll likely want to be more pronounced with your movements and utilize the entirety of the speed buff Sett's Q provides. That would look like this: auto attack, Q, then move with the bonus speed, auto attack, auto attack. Again, there are little micro steps you can take between the auto attacks, but this won't always be necessary. Also, you can instead use the Q to reset your auto attack timer after the second hit and take a longer stride in between your third and fourth attack for a similar effect. Let's talk about his other abilities now. While casting your E, you can buffer your W so that it casts immediately after. If you land a stun or pull an enemy in, this should mean that your W is guaranteed to hit as well. Another cool trick to know is that you can W, then cast your flash immediately after to change up your angle. It'll always face the same direction you initially casted it, so you can use this to either extend the range or flash backwards if your opponents run past you. T-Mac combos are pretty straightforward with Sett. If you want to use it while auto-attacking, try to fit it in between a left punch and right punch. The bonus attack speed will allow the Tiamat animation to occur more quickly, so you'll be able to get the damage out in less time. Sett isn't a complex champion by any means. You can use his abilities in whatever order seems fit. We just highlighted ways to be more efficient in whatever decisions you make. Sett's laning is very powerful because of his insane regeneration, high damage, and the nature of his kit. He has crowd control, damage, and an insane shield, making him one of the strongest brawlers in the game early on. However, he's very immobile, so he won't have a fun time against ranged opponents. The key to fighting with Sett is using your W properly. You don't want to waste it to poke, unless of course your opponent is playing extremely passively and there's no other way for you to get damage off. Instead, you'll want to save it until the end of trades as your enemies back off, or if they're standing their ground and trying to fight you. The important thing to remember is that this ability deals damage and also shields you, so using it properly is crucial. Since it rapidly decays, you'll want to time it when you think your opponents will output a lot of their damage. Think about stuff like Jax's third hit to proc his ultimate or Mordekaiser Q to the face. Another thing you'll need to be aware of as Sett is that you're quite immobile and don't have an escape. If you're solo laning, take note of your wave management and where your jungler is on the map. You can definitely 1v2 ganks, but only if you've managed to successfully trade with your enemy beforehand. Also, when you want to go for heavy trades, you'll likely want to do it when your opponent has a minion wave. Quite ironic, I know. Remember that you need to hit targets on both sides of your E to land the stun, so fighting an enemy without at least one other target nearby means you'll only get a small pullback with it. As a jungler, your clear speed is middle of the pack, but again, your dueling is still very powerful. Unfortunately, Sett's ganks aren't that great until level 6, so you'll only want to gank overextended opponents or lanes that have good setup for you. I recommend full clearing your jungle early, starting at your red buff if you're planning on an early recall, or blue buff if you want to gank after finishing your camps. If you don't think that you'll get invaded, save your potions until you're extremely low to get the most value out of them. One reason we suggest running Stopwatch is because of how strong Sett is at diving. His W can tank a turret shot when timed well, and both his E and R make diving pretty easy. Stopwatch can almost always guarantee a successful dive, as you'll be able to tank a lot of turret damage as Sett. Into the mid to late game, Sett can either split push or group up to teamfight. His kit is mostly built around teamfighting, however, as he has a lot of abilities that hit multiple targets. For teamfights, you can either frontline or act as a zoner, using the threat of your ultimate to pressure your enemies. When enemy frontliners dive in, look for angles and whether or not your opponents tend to clump. The bonus health ratio on his ultimate is crazy. Ulting someone who's built a lot of health into their team deals insane damage. At the moment, Sett's ultimate when maxed deals 60% of his target's bonus health alongside 100% of his bonus AD as damage. This is an AoE ability, by the way, so it has the same game-changing properties as an Orianna ultimate. Otherwise, you'll want to flank from the Fog of War and ult a priority target into your team. Think of it as a free Lee Sin kick, except you're kinda just picking them up and dragging them into your team instead. Not as flashy, but it gets the job done. Sett punishes health stacking champions, so try to pick him against tanks or bruisers that like to build a lot of it. Try to bait your opponents into taking fights that they won't win. Even if you're extremely low, you can use potions, biscuits, and your W to suddenly gain a bunch of effective health. Don't tunnel on getting insane ultimates. You can look for them at chokes, but they won't come very often. Using it to single out priority targets is a good option. Remember to do your job and do what'll most likely win you the game. Also, it has a very short cast range, so you'll usually be best off using flash with it so you don't get kited. We highly advise against blind picking him. Alright, that concludes this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want more content to help you improve, check out ProGuides.com, where we've teamed up with pro players to create guides designed to take your game to the next level. Also, keep an eye out on our YouTube channel, where we're constantly updating with new content just like this. Good luck on the Rift, and we'll see y'all next time.